Joining us now, Kellyanne Conway, counselor to the president. She's been all over this issue, the Kavanaugh confirmation battle, what it's teaching us as Republicans, what it's teaching us as Americans. I think there's a lot of good that's come out of this, and we want to focus on that today and what is ahead for this administration and this party as we go into the midterm election cycle. Kellyanne, how you doing today?
I'm great, Laura. Thank you. You took the words out of my mouth. I thought even when you take like a vow or a pledge, usually you can, handle 5 or 6 words at a time, repeating a prayer in church. But they literally, the words independent and empowerment never crossed my mind when I heard them repeating one word at a time and shouting down these senators in their 70s and 80s, literally shouting them down and telling a man in his 80s to, quote, grow up. I understand they were grieved, but Orrin Hatch didn't hurt them. Chuck Grassley wasn't the perpetrator in whatever awful thing they've experienced in their lives. And by the way, Laura, America is watching. And the left thought this would be a huge inflection point, and they were absolutely right, but not how they expected. You look at the polls, the Republicans and independents who lean Republican are enthused for the first time in a very long time about this election. They're angry. They're worried about the men and the boys in their life. You have 2 sons. I have a son. They're just concerned that this could happen to anybody. This great new ad from Moms for Kavanaugh makes that point exactly. That this could be your husband, your brother, your son, your cousin, your coworker. And people are concerned about that as well. What about this new report that Leland Ingram Kaiser, who Christine Blasey Ford said was at the party in question, could corroborate her claims? She said she felt pressure to change her sworn statement by a former FBI agent. She felt pressured because she said, I can't corroborate it. I can't refute it, but I can't corroborate it. I don't know Brett Kavanaugh. I was never at a party with Brett Kavanaugh as described by Ford. And then those who are pretending this is about truth and justice and fact-finding are pressuring her to change her story, which is a fancy word of saying asking her to lie.
Well, it's also a crime.
Yes, correct. Well, a lot of that can be looked at after this. Who leaked Ford's identity? What kind of emails were going back and forth? Why Dianne Feinstein recommended these Democratic activist lawyers to Ford? Why they never told her she can testify in private and keep her face and her name out of the press as much as she could. She could just do it in California. They'd go to them. That's something that Senator Lindsey Graham told me right away. He said, she can do it by phone. We can send somebody out there. But no. They needed the Klieg lights and the cameras for them and I guess their next client base. So it's just been awful. But America's been watching, and after he's confirmed, and hopefully he will be, I won't get ahead of the way certain senators who are grappling with their vote decide to vote, Laura, but if Judge Kavanaugh is confirmed as a justice to the United States Supreme Court, this will not end there. They think it won't end because they'll still be shouting at men they've never met for things these men have never done to them personally and individually. But other folks won't forget how people behaved, how they were haranguing folks, drumming them out of restaurants, publishing their kids' names and their personal home addresses. That's not the First Amendment. That's just crazy. That's completely crazy.
Yeah. Do you think that in part? I argued this last week when the president came out at that press conference, which I think was one of his best press conferences last week. It was incredible. I think he could have gone for 3 hours. That he taught a really much needed lesson to Republicans on how to fight for what you believe in, fight for a principle, fight for a person instead of being back on your heels, cowering in an elevator. The reason Trump got elected is because he wasn't going to take that anymore. He wasn't going to just keep getting pummeled and be on a perpetual apology tour for either himself or America. And he's not. They called him a bully, Kellyanne. I think the bullies are the people who are swarming individuals in public or at the Senate or restaurants and screaming at them within a centimeter of their skin. But I think Trump's taught the Republicans a lot throughout this whole thing.
Laura, it struck me just last night after I was on your TV show, and thanks for having me, that the way everybody describes Donald Trump, President Trump, is exactly the way they're behaving, and what I don't see from him. He's fuming. He's throwing things at the TV. He's angry. He's a bully. It's exactly who they've become. He's not that way. How in the world can we have these unbelievable job numbers and bringing peace across the world and making us prosper at home if he's sitting there fuming all day? They own the acrimony. They own the vituperative, vicious way, vile way they've gone after people, according to one's gender, according to one's politics. And you're so right. He doesn't retreat and back down when he believes in a principle or a principle, in this case, PAL, Brett Kavanaugh. And they didn't know each other before this. They didn't know each other well at all. But the president saw in Judge Kavanaugh somebody who is sitting on the D.C. Circuit, second highest court in the land, over 300 judicial opinions that none of these Democrats even try to pick apart. I'd respect them far more, Laura, if they said, we have a problem with the 5 following opinions that he wrote and these particular passages. We think he went outside the contours of the Constitution and the law. There's no such argument.
No,
they're talking about a passage from a yearbook you can fit in a Post-it note versus 300 judicial opinions, the answers to 1,200 written questions, over 1 million documents. You need a Mack truck to haul around all the stuff he's produced, and you need a Post-it to talk about a passage in a yearbook. So this just strikes a lot of Americans, even apolitical Americans, Laura, as illogical and beyond common sense. I'd respect them more if they said, we're angry we lost the election 2 years ago and that President Trump is reshaping the federal judiciary with constitutionalists than all this nonsense.
We're going to, later on in the show, Kellyanne, have a discussion about what these current feminists are doing to poison the relationship between men and women. Yeah. And specifically the this idea that if you're an accuser, you must be heard and you must be believed. And if you're not believed, then you're anti-woman or you're anti-victim. And Justice Thomas has talked about this a lot.
Sure.
That we all have to stop identifying ourselves as victims of this or victims of that, because that's not going to help you advance as a person, as being a perpetual victim.
It doesn't, and that every man is a perpetrator. Every man has to shoulder the burden of the Me Too movement. Every man is a rapist. Every man is a sexual harasser by virtue of their gender, and that every woman is a victim. Even those many who have been victims of sexual misconduct or worse, don't necessarily consider themselves victims overall, and that's being lost in the din here as well. I mean, if you did one of those asking everybody who's out there with the masking tape on their mouths and those signs they're holding up, why are they there? What is this about? You're going to get answers that really have nothing to do with his confirmation and really nothing to do with Brett Kavanaugh. The Democrats used Ford because they breached her anonymity. They revealed her identity to the world. They sat on this for 6 weeks. And then they set her up with attorneys who never even gave her the decency of telling her what her rights were, what she could do. And they're using Kavanaugh. And his shoulders should not be shouldering the entire Me Too movement. By the way, Laura, ding, 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 happy anniversary, 1 year anniversary of the Me Too movement. But you know who started it? Not Brett Kavanaugh, Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, exactly.
1 year ago today, it was Harvey Weinstein, major Democratic donor. You're not going to find him in a picture with Brett Kavanaugh. You're going to find him in pictures with Hillary Clinton and a lot of powerful female actresses in Hollywood who looked the other way long after they were just starting out, long after they were very powerful and very wealthy. But let's remember who got this all started. Let's remember he's facing criminal charges. He's facing criminal charges in dozens of women describing conduct, not something 36 years ago and still uncorroborated.
All right, this was a moment yesterday on MSNBC, a network that I literally don't even watch anymore because it's so it's not even interesting. It's so predictable. But this was Mika Brzezinski reacting to your comment that Dr. Ford, look, she was not treated badly. She was treated like a Fabergé egg. Let's listen to Mika.
Why can't you be the egg, Kellyanne, the Fabergé egg, and tell your story? Because you say women should be heard. You talk out of both sides of your mouth. You say that women should be heard, their stories are believable or credible and understanding and compelling. Well, let's hear yours. That's very convenient to drop that, but I want to know your story. I want to know what happened. You should have justice. Well, shouldn't you? No, hold on. I'm not done.
No, I
know your value, okay? You can't just throw that out as a political dagger to protect this reprehensible predator of a president.
Your reaction to that?
Who? I have no reaction to that. Mm-hmm. I think that many people generally have made my point for me. Mm-hmm. That people are judged, women are judged by what their grief or their harm or their recourse or their, quote, victimhood based on their politics. And I think many people are making the point for me, but I don't dignify many things out there because they're wholly irrelevant. And I will tell you a lot of blowback yesterday, a lot of pushback and a lot of blowback. And I'll have my say about that at some other time, but at the moment, I think it's completely irrelevant given how high the stakes are, Laura, to get Justice Kavanaugh confirmed as an Associate Justice to the United States Supreme Court. But I won't be bullied. I won't be bullied either, and I won't be bullied. And I'll have my say. I'm not going to say much else right now, except that I find it to be basically irrelevant. And when I talked about the Fabergé egg, which, by the way, was trending on social media, I love informing generations of a new term that may not know it. But when I was talking about that, I was talking about the process. If you look at the entire clip, that's me talking about how
right. Well,
Dr.
you were right.
Ford was accommodating. I am right. Of course I am.
It was beyond right.
I was talking to NBC reporters. Two of them were shouting at me, and I looked at the male reporter, Pete Alexander, and I said, "Do you have corroboration? Do you know do you know how she got there? Do you know how she got home? Have you found anybody?" And he's, swallowing hard and then asking some other question. And Kristen Welker was shouting questions, and I said, "She's been treated like a Fabergé egg," meaning the process. You could do it privately in California. It's her attorneys who didn't allow her that courtesy and that decency. You can do it not on camera. You can do it by telephone.
Yeah, Kellyanne, you don't have to explain. You were
she's been
you were
100%
so well. Correct.
And by the way, I wasn't yesterday. But I'm not going to be bullied, particularly by that person.
No, but the funny thing is, Kellyanne, and I just tee this stuff up for people because otherwise I just have to do all the talking.
It's good that you repeat it because then it was just a very funny day afterwards.
No, but it's funny, Kellyanne, because the funniest thing is she got her book plug in.
Yeah, I know many people mentioned that also. That was pretty funny. Like, no, you're. I do know my value. I do know my value, and it's got nothing to do. And by the way, she's not the one estimating it.
Oh my God.
But I'll have plenty to say about that at some other time in some other place. But now we don't give it. I mean, look, they think that they banned us from the White House of being guests. We banned them a long time ago. Do you know the last time anybody from the White House went on that show?
Yeah.
I remember. No, you wouldn't even look at this year.
No.
So they lost access early on, and I guess that they've gone all the way to the other end. And I guess it's good for ratings and revenue, but not really if you look at it. But honestly, who cares? Nobody even pays attention to it.
No. Well, Kellyanne, yesterday or Wednesday, I mean, I'm not tooting my own horn because it's my team, but we had more people watching the Ingram Angle at 10 o'clock than MSNBC and CNN combined.
Yes, combined. I made that point to the president. By the way, I told the president, when he sent out his tweet, it got over 300,000 likes, and then the primetime Fox lineup, each of your shows had over 5 million because our folks are interested in this issue. A lot of the fence sitters voted for President Trump because he promised to put constitutionalists on the Supreme Court and the Circuit Court. 1 out of every 7 Circuit Court judges right now is a Trump appointee, and he's making good on those promises, and people are watching.
Kellyanne Conway, fantastic to have you on the show last night. You've been great throughout this whole thing, and also, of course, on radio. We just love having you on. Give a big hug to those kids for me.
You got it. Thanks, Laura. Take care.